Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Yes, this video is very late and there is no Final Destination Bloodlines review up. However, whenever I made that first Final Destination ranking video before 6 came out, I did not anticipate just how much of a pain in the ass moving was gonna be, nor just how much shit I had to move. So that was a bit of a process, but we got it done, we're past it, we're here, and that's all that matters. It was also kind of a blessing in disguise because I got to rewatch every single movie after the 6th movie, so I could get a really good idea of where I wanted each movie to be on my list. So it kind of ended up working out better in a way. I was really able to get all the details of the movies that I maybe haven't seen in a while. It allowed me to really re-experience the franchise without having to rush anything. So this video may be late, but it's probably for the better. However, I still do plan on getting back to a consistent schedule. I'm not just saying that, I really mean it. It is just so fucking hard. It's so hard, but we're gonna get there. I can feel it. Anyways, with that all being said, and a spoiler alert warning in order, let's go ahead and dive into the Final Destination franchise, from worst to best. All right, starting us off at the bottom of the list, in 6th place, we have The Final Destination. This movie should have been the end, and not in a good way. The Final Destination, not Final Destination 4, just The Final Destination, which honestly, it makes no sense that it's named this because there's no sense of finality to this movie at all. But anyways, it opens at a racetrack where a group of college kids witness a brutal chain reaction crash. Typical, Final Destination stuff. Nick has a vision that debris and cars are gonna fly into the stands, the stadium's gonna collapse, and everyone's gonna die. So in pure Final Destination fashion, he panics, pulls his friends out, and a few other strangers, and, shit goes down. And just like that, we've got another group who cheated death in probably one of the most rushed and really just clunkiest ways. The way that the movie starts off, it's just so abrupt. I mean, the opening credits were kind of cool, the ones that played in X-ray form or whatever, but the movie just starts off so fast. There's no fanfare, there's very weak domino effects leading up to the opening premonition. So whenever it finally happens and the group escapes, it's just kind of like, meh. And this is just where the problems begin. So the acting is abysmal, the characters are flimsy and forgettable, the CGI is so cartoony, it is bad. In this movie, it is very bad. Some of the survivors also don't even have names, just labels, like the racist redneck who dies by being dragged and blown up in his own tow truck, which, I mean, I kind of love that scene because he deserved it, but still, there's just no effort put into this movie at all. The kills range from okay to generic. Samantha getting a rock through the eye in front of her kids, that's just uncomfortable. Like, I don't care for movie scenes that have like parents dying in front of their kids. Like, that's, at that point, I'm not having fun anymore. Then you also have the pool drain scene too, where Hunt gets his intestines sucked out. And I think that's happened in real life before. Don't quote me on that. I'm not gonna, I don't know, I think that's happened in real life before, but obviously not in the like dramatized way it is in the movie. This death was just kind of gross in like a try hard way. And given the way that the death scene plays out, it's clearly just there for the 3D gimmick effects, and it's not that great. Then don't even get me started on the car wash near death experience that just goes nowhere. So stupid, like this scene for example.
Hey, Lori, I'm at the car wash. I'll call you back in 5. Gina, wait! Wait, shit! Do you know if there's a car wash around here?
Girl, you can talk on the phone at the car wash, what? like you deserve to die. You know the death is on your ass, take the call. And then not only that, there's just no sense of suspense in this sequel. There's no tension, it's all just shallow spectacle for the sake of, look what we can do in 3D here in 2009. But even that gimmick aged like warm milk, as you would expect. The 3D blood splashes and impalements are so poorly rendered now, they actually pull you out of the experience more than they probably did back in the day to begin with. And then worst of all, there's no Bloodworth, no Tony Todd character, not even a cryptic voiceover like Final Destination 3 did. It's the only film in the franchise to leave him out entirely, and you feel that absence. There's no mystery, no lore, just a conveyor belt of bad CGI deaths and cardboard characters. The mall explosion finale almost redeems things with a classic Final Destination fake-out twist, but it's a little bit too late at that point. And don't get me wrong, a mall explosion is a great premonition idea for a Final Destination movie. It's just very unfortunate that it was in the worst Final Destination movie. Look, the characters die in the same bland cafe that the movie started in after the whole mall premonition fake out. And honestly, it's for the best. This movie is not good. Don't fucking watch it. It doesn't matter how many more Final Destination movies come out, this one will always stay at the bottom of my list. All right, now moving on to spot number 5. Coming in at 5th place, we have Final Destination 2. Now, the first movie introduced us to Death's design, obviously. The second movie expands on that, making it a much bigger, messier, and kind of meaner sequel. The movie opens with a moment that changed driving culture forever, the infamous log truck pileup. It's hands down one of the best premonition sequences in the franchise, if not the best. The sound design, the play on real life fears, the crunching of metal, the sheer panic and chaos of it all, it doesn't just scare you, it definitely sticks with you. This scene played very well on the real life fears of getting into an accident on the highway, which, I mean, I feel like everyone's kind of scared of that possibility. Once the dust settles on the whole premonition scene, the film kind of loses steam for me, hence why it's so low on this list. But don't get me wrong, there's a very sizable gap from the Final Destination to Final Destination 2. Like, it's leagues ahead of the movie that's in 6th place. But even so, this one still is, it's definitely one that I watch very sparingly because it's just really not my cup of tea. College student Kimberly Corman pulls her car over with her friends after she has this horrible premonition, stopping multiple strangers, including a cop named Burke, a mother and son, a businesswoman, a stoner, a lottery winner, and a bunch of other strangers, and more from entering the freeway. And then right on cue, in a pretty good jump scare that at least got me whenever I first saw this movie, happens whenever the truck, I guess the log truck that started the whole pile-up thing or whatever, smashes into her car and kills all of her friends. So that was a neat little twist right from the get-go, because as someone who just went into the movie blind, whenever I first saw this one, I just kind of assumed that her friends were going to be a core part of the cast and didn't really question that none of them were on the poster. But regardless, I thought that was a really neat twist, and it definitely showed me that this movie maybe had a few other tricks up its sleeve. Following that, one by one, the survivors start to get picked off. There's Evan, who wins the lottery and gets impaled through the eye after slipping out of a fire escape. There's Tim, the kid who gets flattened from a falling sheet of glass in one of the more unexpected moments from the franchise. And then of course there's Rory, who gets sliced into thirds by barbed wire fencing. Brutal stuff. But while the kills are often creative and the rules of death's pattern evolve, it's going backward this time. The movie starts to feel more mechanical than suspenseful. It gets so wrapped up in its own mythology that it loses character depth. Kimberly and Burke are fine, but that's kind of the problem for me. They're just fine. Look, I know there are a lot of Kimberly stans out there. I'm not one of them. I don't really get all the hype about her character. She's fine, but especially next to Clear Rivers, she comes off very bland. And speaking of Clear Rivers, she returns here toughened and institutionalized, only to get blown up in a hospital explosion. Her death was tragic, but also kind of necessary, so I wasn't too mad at it. I kind of expected her to not make it through the sequel, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it really hurt whenever her death. Look, in general, the movie deserves credit for keeping mostly practical effects and staying pretty similar in tone with the first movie. And the twist that all the survivors were meant to die in earlier events connected to Flight 180 is a pretty clever little addition, and I really enjoyed that little twist. But for all its ambition, at the end of the day, the movie kind of feels like it's just checking box. I know the sequel has its diehard fans, but unfortunately, outside of the logging truck premonition sequence, I'm just not one of them. All right, now moving on to spot number 4. In 4th place, we have Final Destination 5. Now, on paper, Final Destination 5 should have been the return to form, and in a few ways, it is. We open with Sam and his coworkers on a suspension bridge en route to a retreat, but of course, Sam has a vision of the bridge collapsing, sending cars, buses, and bodies collapsing into the water below. He snaps out of it, of course, and in true typical fashion, pulls a handful of people away, including some of his colleagues. And sure enough, the bridge disaster plays out exactly the way we saw. This opening is one of my favorites though. The sound design, again, the wind snapping cables, it's one of the most polished cinematic sequences in the entire franchise, very well choreographed, has some great death sequences. but the CGI in certain spots, my God, it's very bad. I noticed it a lot this time around. I wouldn't typically notice it on rewatches whenever I was younger, but I guess now that I'm older and my, eyes are better, I don't know, it's very noticeable how bad the CGI is in some of the bridge opening sequences. But overall, this is definitely one of the top Final Destination sequences for sure. However, just like the second movie, after the premonition sequence, the movie really starts to lose me. Just a little bit though. Not as much as 2, but this one definitely starts to lose me as time goes on. We get to know a little bit more about the other survivors this time around. We have Peter, Candace, Isaac, Olivia, Nathan. They're all right. No one particularly stands out. Olivia has a fun streak, and Molly ends up being the emotional heart of the movie and the group. I love Emma Bell. But most of them fade fast. The acting is a bit better than in part 4, but still that's not exactly saying much. The deaths though, still very solid. Candace's gymnastic death is the ultimate tension builder. You spend the whole scene waiting for her to step on a damn nail because that's what it looks like in the trailer, but then her actual death happens, which is this. It's horrifying and pays off so well. Then there's Olivia's eye surgery fake out, which is all over the trailers for this one. And it ironically ends with her actually tumbling out of the window onto a car. So I love that little misdirection right there. Tony Todd also returns, and he brings a huge rule shift with him, which is you can kill someone else and steal their lifespan. That leads to one of the better endings in the franchise. Peter snaps and kills the federal agent and then tries to kill Molly, only to be taken out by Sam with a meat skewer. But that's not even the best twist. The real twist of this movie, obviously, is that it was a prequel the entire time. The characters at the very end of the movie board Flight 180. This is when we realize that they were just filling in the gaps from the original movie, and it honestly saves the movie quite a bit for me whenever you realize that they're on Flight 180 and they do that little like pan to show that they're on the plane and, you know, they were just right there and they missed it. It was just such a cool little twist for me, especially since I was like 10 when I saw this. So whenever I was like, oh my God, that's that, like, it blew my little 10-year-old mind. It was a very slightly above average Final Destination movie that's elevated a fuck ton by its twist ending, but that's just my opinion. Oh, and the montage sequence that flashes through all the franchise kills at the end. Such a nice touch. This Final Destination movie may not be the best movie in the franchise, but it's definitely one that's considered a love letter to the series. This may be an unpopular opinion, not putting it at number 1. I don't care. I'm just gonna hop right into it. Coming in at spot number 3 is the original Final Destination. There's something so timeless about the original Final Destination. First movie isn't flashy, it's more so moody and tense and much more toned down than the others. It introduced a completely fresh concept in the horror world, death's design. The movie kicks off with high school student Alex Browning as he boards Flight 180 with his classmates and has a vision that the plane's going to explode. He panics, gets thrown off with a few others, and sure enough, the plane goes down. From there, it's like dominoes falling in slow motion. Todd accidentally hangs himself, which I think most of the deaths in the original movie are pretty tame, especially compared to the sequels. But this one was brutal. This one was really hard to watch. Then we get Terry, who gets blindsided by that bus. Love that jump scare with friends who haven't seen the original. Gets them every time. Then you have Miss Luton's death, which is just pure overkill. You've got the vodka, the fire, the knives, and then eventually a full-blown house explosion, all just because of her fucking computer. I'm sure there's more to it, but honestly, the death just feels so freakishly over the top, but also kind of plausible. In any case though, her character kind of irritated me, so I loved it. And then there's William Bloodworth, played by Tony Todd in his first appearance. Creepy, cryptic, iconic. His presence really sets the tone for everything that comes after, all the rules and stuff. Best characters though, obviously, are Alex and Clear. They really carry the film. Their chemistry gives the movie real emotional stakes. Carter's a dick, Billy's a goof, and the FBI agents are weirdly obsessed with Alex, but that all just kind of adds to the tension, so I'm not really a hater of the characters in this movie, but I do think that they could have been just a little bit more likable. Except for Alex and Clear, of course. Overall, not my favorite Final Destination, but it's definitely worth a rewatch in honor of giving us what the franchise is today, and it still has some pretty cool kills and set pieces. All right, now coming in at spot number 2, we have the newest addition to the series, Final Destination 6, Bloodlines. Now, if the earlier films were about cheating death, this one is about inheriting it. So right from the jump, this movie shattered my expectations. After 4 and even 5, I didn't really expect a Final Destination sequel to be this good. The movie starts back in 1968 at the grand opening of the Skyview Tower, a glamorous high-rise restaurant that's perched in the clouds. That's where we meet Iris, who has a vision of the tower collapsing, the floor shatters, and a massive gas explosion consumes everyone. She freaks out and manages to save everyone, preventing the tower from going down and saving not just a handful of people, but everybody, which we've never seen before, so that really intrigued me from the get-go. The Final Destination formula definitely was back, but with a slight twist. We then flash forward to the present and we meet Stephanie. Stephanie goes back home and reconnects with her brother Charlie and also their estranged family, which consists of Uncle Howard, Aunt Brenda, and their kids Eric, Bobby, and Julia. When Iris dies in front of Stephanie after giving her the book of rules about death, it starts to become clear that death didn't just come for the survivors of the tower collapse, it came for their descendants too. This movie turns the entire franchise on its head. It's not just about who cheated death, it's about the legacy of doing so. And with William Bloodworth back in the mix as someone who was at the Skyview as a child, the lore finally comes full circle. I cannot tell you how much I loved that twist with Tony Todd, and his scene in general really tugged at my heartstrings. Not forced at all like some of the other Horror Legacy sequels, it was just perfect. Anyways, he and Iris were actually friends and spent years trying to decode Death's pattern. What they found was kind of terrifying, but still a way out nonetheless. You can either steal someone's life by killing them, or you can die and be revived. We already know that though, so that wasn't really news to us. However, the movie definitely still had some fun playing around with that here. The kills here are also some of the most emotionally charged in the series, and honestly, just very fucking gnarly. This isn't a group of friends or a group of colleagues dying, this is a family, so for me at least, it was way more uncomfortable to watch. Such as Howard's death via lawnmower during the barbecue. It is so sudden and just very disturbing that it happens in front of his kids and his wife. I don't like that. And then you have Julia's garbage truck death, which is just straight up traumatizing. Did not expect Anna Lore to go out like that, and as a runner, I'm perpetually affected now by this. Then you got Eric's death, which loved the little callback to the Final Destination 5 poster. So cool. He forces Bobby into the allergic reaction, hoping to revive him, but ends up getting ripped apart by the MRI machine and a wheelchair. And then Bobby dies anyway, which is just insult to injury when a vending machine coil launches into his skull. Gnarly and so undeserved. Bobby was so pure, but Eric really tried death, and she did not disappoint. You know how much you gotta piss death off for it to just add you to the list like that? Girl. Anyways, the Skyview premonition is easily top 3 material in the franchise. The piano crushing a child, very well deserved. I know how it sounds, well deserved, and I've never been in a movie theater ever in my life that laughed as loud as they did whenever a child was crushed by a falling piano. That was wild. Well deserved though. The elevator also slicing the dude in half. I jumped out of my seat with that one. It was so abrupt. But again, this character was a fucking asshole, so it was deserved. But my God, if it was not just so startling, very gruesome. You have to see it to know what I'm talking about. And then just the eerily surreal blue screened view of the 1960s city below and around them as the tower's collapsing. It just gives the whole scene an almost dreamlike horror tone. I was living for it. 10 out of 10 opening sequence. The ending though could have been so much better. The third act was very weak and Darlene's death felt like an afterthought with the falling lamppost. I don't know. I read a lot of script leaks and stuff for this movie after it came out, and they had a fetish for lamppost deaths in their original script. There were at least 4 that involved a lamppost, and just why? Anyways, the siblings dying at the end with the train crash and logs splattering them was so goofy, but the Final Destination 2 reference kind of balanced it out for me, so I thought it was kind of funny. Bottom line though, Bloodlines is fresh, emotional, definitely scary, and has some of the best humor. It is one of the top tier Final Destination movies. However, it just barely misses the top spot, which is, of course, coming in at number 1, in first place, Final Destination 3. Now, this is how you do a Final Destination movie. From the moment the credits roll, the movie's dripping with atmosphere. Wendy, our new lead, played by the lovely Mary Elizabeth Winstead, has has a vision that the roller coaster's mechanics fail, cars fly off the tracks, and her classmates are ejected, crushed, impaled, you name it. It's fast, brutal, visceral, and plays perfectly on the fear of dying in a roller coaster crash. Easily the best premonition in the franchise. Very, very close to being edged out by the Skyview premonition, but it's still kind of debatable for me. But this one, while using a little bit of CGI, I found felt just a little bit more realistic than some of the other premonition sequences we've gotten, so I give that one points here too. Of course, once we get the opening roller coaster crash, of course, once it's revealed that it's a vision, Wendy saves Kevin, Ian, Aaron, and it girls Ashley and Ashlyn, among a few others. And then unfortunately, a few of her friends, including her boyfriend, can't get off the ride for some reason. That sucked. But anyways, the lucky few, of course, survived. But as always, surviving the opening only means one thing, and it's that death is on your ass now. Now, what sets Final Destination 3 apart for me is how balanced the horror is. It's a fun installment and retains the same dark humor that the series is known for, while also staying atmospheric. The deaths here are also very fun and slightly goofy, but still brutal as hell. Ashley and Ashlyn's tanning bed scene is brutal and one of the most iconic of the series. Frankie's death by Engine Fan was violent as fuck, but was so well deserved. And then you got Lewis, who gets his head crushed by a weight machine mid-set, and the crunch along with the splatter effects are great, but it's a bit too cartoony due to the CGI, but still, nonetheless, it's a very amusing death. Aaron's nail gun death, though, easily one of the nastiest, most memorable kills in the franchise. I don't know how accurate it is exactly, if you can die like that, but it is so fucking gruesome to watch. Though what really elevates the movie for me is Wendy. She's my favorite Final Destination character by far. She's not just reacting to the situations, she's fighting to save each victim. Now, she's not good at it, but she gets an A for effort. Uses the photos taken the night of the accident to spot clues about how people might die. It's a plot device that could have used some work and would have been even better if it was fleshed out a bit more, but it was still a nice addition to shake things up. And then Wendy's chemistry with Kevin is also a very important aspect of the film. Outside of Alex and Clear, this is the only other duo that I rooted for besides Stephanie and Charlie. This movie had such a solid duo. And it had a pretty good third act too. Wendy trying to save Julie and Kevin at the Tricentennial Fair leads to one of the most chaotic third acts in the series. Everyone's everywhere, you don't know who's gonna die, and it is just so fun. We get death by flagpole, exploding propane tanks, and a collapsing cherry picker that bisects Ian. All great kills. And then just when you think Wendy, Kevin, and Julie made it out, we get that subway ending. This is the first time the series did a premonition at the end of the film. We love to see it. Months later, Wendy boards a train with her roommates and sees Kevin and Julie again. And of course comes the premonition. The train derails, Julie's crushed by debris, Kevin's smeared against the wall by the train after he's yanked out the window. That one was always rough for me to watch as a kid. Traumatizing. Then Wendy's just completely obliterated by the next oncoming train, and then of course that's when we find out it's a vision. The screen cuts to black mid-scream. It's ambiguous, it's brutal, it's perfect, and the only gripe that I have with it is that they were confirmed as dead, because just no, I would much rather prefer that these three survived instead of bland-ass Kimberly Corman and Thomas Burke, but oh well. Overall though, at the end of the day, in my opinion, this is the definitive Final Destination. It's the one to rewatch any day of the week. This is the one that I show people whenever I want to introduce them to the franchise. This one has the best tone, best deaths, best final girl, best score, and the strongest vibes. Again, this is all my opinion, so don't come for me in the comment section. I mean, sure, you'd maybe want more Tony Todd beyond a voice cameo, and less CGI, of course. Practical effects are always better, but overall this installment feels like it understood the assignment the most, and is always the movie I think of whenever someone mentions the series Final Destination. Alright guys, so that about wraps up this ranking. Thank you so much for dealing with my incredibly inconsistent ass and my horrible schedule management. I promise to get on a better schedule. I promise to get on a more consistent schedule. It's going to happen. I'm manifesting it. Moving was just such a pain in the ass, but luckily I'm in a place where it is much easier to film. So while I did have to take such a long hiatus and then had to wait even longer to film this video, I feel like it's going to be for the better. I'll be able to film much more frequently and consistently. and hopefully you won't always have to deal with randomly published videos coming out here and there. So thank you so much for sticking with my channel and me. It means the world to me, and honestly, this channel would not be here without you all. So any support and the continued support is greatly appreciated, and you have no idea how much it means to me. With that being said, if you're new here, welcome. If you liked what you saw, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It'll really help the channel out a lot and will ensure that I can make more videos for you guys. And if you just want to go that extra mile, go ahead and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any of my new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget to like and share, and don't forget to drop your personal ranking for the Final Destination series. I would love to discuss what's your favorite Final Destination movie, what's your least favorite, why is it the Final Destination? Let's discuss about it in the comments. I need the engagement, and I'm really curious about what you guys have to say. All right, love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.